Hello gamers, and welcome to this Link to the Past randomizer race between Emok81 and Kiko89. This is going to be a race that was done a few days ago as part of Swiss Week number 3 of the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2025. Let me get these street videos synced up here for you guys, and we are going to head into the initial opening of this race. We are playing open mode, so our runners are going to get the choice of whether they want to start at Link's house or start at Sanctuary. Looks like both of our runners are off, and both runners... Oh, no, I stand corrected. Emok choosing to start at Link's house and already gets the flippers, so pretty interesting start. Meanwhile, Kiko decided to start at Sanctuary, so some different approaches to the opening route here. I did mention this is going to be a match that was played a few days ago. We are almost halfway through. I guess we're in the middle of week 3, so I guess more like a third of the way through the Swiss rounds, where these mentees are going to be paired with each other. Mentees are going to be paired with each other based on their win-loss records. And of course, both of these mentees are on a live, or were on a live voice call with their corresponding mentors. So Emok81 is being mentored by Scatsman, and Kiko89 being mentored by Thalang on their side, or on his side. Alright, so Emok81 going to go ahead and give us these two checks in Hyrule Castle Secret Passage. Looks like we got a hookshot, so Alka route really paying off with some nice items today. Of course, we do expect that Kiko will end up getting those later, but won't have those for the trip to Kakariko, which, you know, is probably pretty fine. Probably won't matter that much since hookshot and flippers aren't really super relevant. But hopefully Kiko will be able to get those without before too long. Looks like we got a light world map check, and I saw crystals on Hera and Desert, and we got a pendant on Eastern. I think Desert was also a red crystal. So Emok is now proceeding to, it looks like both runners, I believe, are going to opt for a Lumberjack Cave check, looks like. Nice hookshot usage by Emok. Hookshot will save you some extra frames compared to just walking in a straight line. And we had Kiko saving and quitting out of the Lost Woods dropdown. I have to imagine, or I think common play is if you go to the Lost Woods dropdown and you have bombs for Kakariko, you can just walk to Kakariko from there. But of course, Kiko only having 23 rupees and no bombs, so probably wants to go and do some other things and try to guarantee that they'll have the bombs that they want and need for checking the checks in Kakariko Village. So Emok is going to do their Lost Woods checks, 2 checks over here, and looks like they might actually end up in the same conundrum where we don't quite have enough rupees to buy bombs, and we don't have bombs themselves either. So we'll see how Emok decides to handle this. Looks like he is going to continue on here. Kiko deciding to save and quit out of the secret passage. You know, we don't have any weapons for doing the front escape. And Emok picks up another blue rupee there, but still not enough money to even buy bombs if we wanted to. Looks like Kiko is going to go ahead and go left from Link's house, and there is a spot on this screen where you can, there's 2 bushes that you can pick up, and each of them does have a 50% chance of giving you bombs. We'll see how Emok and Scatsman want to handle this. Looks like they're going to go into the well, so this is definitely, they're probably thinking about whether they want to go in Blind's Hut versus the well. Obviously you need bombs to get all the items in either of these. They probably elected on doing the well because it is less punishing to double dip the well than Blind's Hut. You know, Blind's Hut, you have to go all the way down, and it's a bunch of slow transitions. Unfortunately, it does not get any bombs in the well. I do think if you go to the well, you are less than 50% to find bombs there, so not super surprising, but it was, you know, worth a shot. So Emok going to check the back of the tavern. Also possible that you can find some bombs here, but looks like no, and I imagine they're going to buy bombs from the Kakariko shop. Meanwhile, Kiko seeing 300 rupees in race game and is going to decide to go and spend the time to get them. So we'll see if this ends up paying off. It will of course let them guarantee that they have enough money to buy bombs in Kakariko if they so choose, but might also be relevant for a future play to Zora, which of course is a little bit extra relevant here because we already have the flippers. So Zora is not only in logic, but we can combo the Zora check with, Waterfall Fairy as well as the item on Zora Ledge. So have to imagine that though the flippers that we found in Link's house is contributing to this decision to grab those 300 rupees, because it's, it does take quite a bit of time to bomb the wall and go all the way to race game to get that item. Alright, so we have both our runners checking Kakariko from opposite sides here. Emok, now with all those bombs in tow, is going to be able to pick up this item at the back of the well. And Kiko's got one bomb left over, but is probably going to have to, unless Rickenhouse had bombs, which I don't think it did, he's going to have to buy some bombs as well. Emok is going to have just enough money to, assuming they pick up all the blue rupees in Blind's Hut, they are going to have enough money to get the check from Bottle Vendor, so that's nice, nothing to worry about there. And we'll see which one of our runners makes it out of here first, given all that has happened. It's always a little bit interesting, trying to compare opening routes, because, there's a lot of different factors that can happen. It's a decision that I don't think the community has really arrived on a consensus as to, what the most optimal or the best opening route is. We got a flute over here in Blind's Hut, so that is definitely nice to find. Unfortunately, well, I guess Emok was already going to walk out of here for Bottle Vendor, so no chance of saving Quinny out of here anyways. So I guess it's not a big deal. It looks like Emok is going to finish their Kakariko checks first, I believe. Although I guess they haven't done Library Legends and Race Game yet, so we'll see if they decide to walk down there. I do think since you're already out here activating your flute, it doesn't take that long, so I probably can see them doing that. But it wouldn't be the craziest idea to just leave that behind as well, but we'll see what they do. That flute, of course, is going to make the early game routing a lot easier for both of our runners. Kind of makes some checks pretty trivial to get to, namely Dam, Mini Moldum Cave. Those are all going to be, none of those checks are really getting any faster. Okay, and Emok is going to take this time to go ahead and check Library Ledge and Race Game. Meanwhile, Kiko is going to find their flute here in Blind's Hut. And I guess the powder was also here in Blind's Hut, in the back of Blind's Hut for both of our runners. And Emok decided to go ahead and just grab this item on Race Game without scouting it first. I do know that this is, I think I have the timings on these two decisions, and it kind of just depends on how often you think you're going to need the item here on Race Game. I think if you want the item less than 50% of the time, it's better to just scout it and then save and quit and then go back if you need to. But Emok might be thinking about Zora money, given again that we have the flippers and we even have the flute to make getting to we can just flute to 8 and then head to Zora from that direction. Looks like we're taking a trip over to Agena first. I actually like this. I like doing an Agena check whenever you have the flute on hand, because a lot of people like to combo Agena with Desert Palace, but actually if you I know that walking out of Desert Palace from the big chest is actually a little bit slower than fluting from Link's house to get to Agena, surprisingly enough. We did see the book on Desert Ledge, so probably means we're not going to be getting to Desert Palace anytime soon. Okay, oh, just missed that hookshot clip over there on Kiko's side. That can happen if you don't use your hookshot quite early enough when you're pushing that block. So a little bit unfortunate. He's going to have to take another trip into this dam as a result, but no big deal, not a huge time loss. We'll see if Emok can get this hookshot clip successfully. One thing that I like to do is, since you can't actually use the hookshot when you're flush against a block, I honestly just, as soon as I'm starting to push the block, I just spam the Y button as fast as I can, and usually that lets me succeed in this. But of course, if you've got good timing, it should be doable if you time it as well. Kiko is going to go pick up that red rupee outside, and Emok also doing the same. Emok is a little bit closer to having Zora money here. Got an extra 44 rupees on hand. We'll see what Mini Moldum Cave has. And again, it looks like Kiko is ahead here, but remember, Emok did take a little bit of time to go and flute to Agena and pick up that check. So I imagine that Kiko is going to be paying back that time at some point as well. So all things considered, when all is said and done, Emok ahead just a little bit based on everything that's happened in the early game. It's like we got a Magic Cape and a bow, so some interesting items. Magic Cape, of course, not really going to be relevant unless we have, unless we get logical access to complete Aghanim, which, for the sake of both of our runners, I hope we don't, because that's a slow 5-minute dungeon that we'll have to complete. And the bow is also kind of interesting because, normally we'd be rushing over to Eastern Palace to go and clear that with the bow, but of course Eastern Palace today is a pendant dungeon, so not necessarily going to want to invest that time. Right, both of our runners going to take a trip to Ice Rod Cave. This makes a lot of sense. Really fast with the flute. On this screen that Emok is on, I've heard a lot of people say that it's faster to walk diagonally up and left and then hop in the water to get to the Ice Rod Cave. But turns out it's actually not faster. I just only learned this today. I thought it was faster as well, but I timed it, and it seems like it's actually slightly slower. So good on both these runners for not doing that, I guess. So let's see where Kiko wants to take this. Looks like Kiko is also going to take this opportunity to do the Gina check. So both of our runners doing the same kind of set of checks, but Emok is going to decide to go somewhere else. Let's see if they do the water checks, since they do have enough money for Zora, and looks like that is what they're going to do. It is, of course, our friend the camper under the bridge, or the hobo, is also in logic. Looks like Emok is going to actually go ahead and do that first, as well as get this Scout of Lake Hylia. I will say, I think, based on the timings, if you're going from Ice Rod Cave to Hobo, it is actually slightly faster to just save and quit the Link's house. Not actually that much of a big time difference, but it's nice to do it that way, also because then you don't have to worry about swimming out of your way to check the item on Lake Hylia. You get to just kind of go along the way since you're just walking from Link's house anyways. But no big difference either way. Looks like Kiko is going to say no to the flipper checks. Also doesn't elect to do the Old Man Rescue in the Dark, probably because they don't have a sword to help light the way with the sword sparkles. Emok is going to find the Fire Rod at Hobo, so that's definitely a nice pickup. Not super relevant right now, aside from giving us logical access to Dark Cross in the front of Escape. And in the meantime, Kiko is going to follow the kind of most dense area that we have open, which is going to be the checks on the right side of the mountain. Of course, there are 7 checks in Paradox Cave, and then another additional check inside Spiral Cave. So a lot of density over there, and it's all in logic because we have logical access to the mountain via our flute. Emok is going to find the glove and a blue boomerang in Waterfall Cave, so Kiko definitely going to want to make it there at some point. That glove is going to bring us one step closer to having Dark World access. We're going to need one more glove or the hammer to be able to actually head into the Dark World. And of course, we already have our Moon Pearl. I believe that was in Kakariko, so we got that pretty early on. So one risk that Kiko is taking here is that if Tower of Hera, has our progression, and the hammer is somewhere like, at Saha or in the front of Escape, Kiko could potentially have to double up on this trip up Paradox Cave. Of course, it's also possible that, we have no idea where the hammer is. Looks like Zora giving a little bit of a refund, had 300 rupees for us, so nice to not have to pay full price. We'll see where Emok decides to go now. Kiko finding 2 medallions in Paradox Cave. And the Pegasus boots. Alright, so so far this play to rush up the mountain working out for Kiko and Thelaine. Emok is instead going to use the gloves to drop back into the back of Escape. Really like this play. I think as soon as you have your gloves, there's very little reason to put off the back of Escape. It's 3 really fast items, and Emok even has the Fire Rod. In case we get the key here, we could go and check Dark Cross. Looks like we got 1 item, 2 items, and just 3 items, so no access to Dark Cross from the back of Hyrule Castle. It's also possible that Dark Cross could just be the key itself, or it could be the map, and we could just get to skip it altogether, the seed. We'll have to see how the items work out. Okay, Emok look like they're going to flute. We'll see if they go up the mountain, or if they decide to kind of delay that. Looks like they are choosing to choose this time to head up the mountain. I think the other options here were to go to do Front of Escape. Everything else is in logic there, and you might want to just commit to doing that at some point, and there might not be a better chance than now. The other option, of course, was to go over to Saha and potentially dip Pendant Eastern, although I think that's probably the last choice for both our runners, given that it's a Pendant Dungeon. There's something to be said about the bow, maybe hinting at progression on Armless Knights, but that's only one check, and it's the slowest check in the dungeon, so I probably wouldn't personally give that much weight to it. The Fire Rod does also give us, logical access to beat Armos, so depending on where the big key is, Armless Knights could be in logic, but kind of just depends on where the big key is in Eastern Palace. Right, so Kiko checking Bonk Rocks and going to come up with just 3 bombs. So where to next? We have our choice between Front of Escape. We have cleaning up the water checks since Kiko hasn't done those yet, and it looks like that's what we're going to do. We'll see if Kiko decides to take the same routing that Emok did. Looks like they are going to go to Hobo. And they are, let's see, so they're not actually going to skip like Hylia, which is a little bit awkward because I guess... Because like normally, it's actually faster to, if you're swimming to Hobo and then swimming from Hobo to Zora, it's a little bit faster to scout Hobo on the way down rather than on the way up. But of course, this situation is a little bit different since we have the flippers and the flute. So ideally, we want to flute away from Hobo. So we'll see if Kiko decides to just say no on scouting like Hylia entirely and just kind of put that off till later, or if they decide to swim a little bit out of their way. It looks like they are going to swim a little bit out of their way, so unfortunately not going to be able to take full advantage of the flute here. So I do think Emok probably gained a little bit of time doing this traversal over the water checks, but probably not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Alright, very nice bomb jump by Emok. And Emok is going to go ahead and do their check to Spiral Cave. So let's see. So the only things that we haven't seen for both of our runners is we haven't seen... so I guess Kiko still needs to do Back Escape with their glove that they just got here. And the main things we haven't seen, of course, are Front of Escape, which has a few checks, and then Saha and Eastern Palace. I think if I'm approaching this, where my thoughts are, I'd probably just end up doing Front of Escape. It is less of a commitment. I think doing Saha is also not a bad option because that's, your fastest 3 checks right now. So I think either of those 2 options are pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Going into Pendant Eastern is probably your last choice. So we'll see what these runners decide to do. All right, Kiko saving quitting out of Zora after getting that money rebate. And Emok's going to go ahead and check Bonk Rocks, and we'll see what they do afterward. Looks like Kiko, yeah, they might have wanted to do Back Escape, but, found themselves at Link's house, maybe saving quitting to the wrong place. But this is fine. You can just use this opportunity to do the Front of Escape instead. Hard to say exactly what is optimal. I guess in this particular seed, doing the Back of Escape would have been faster because, as we know, there are 3 items there. Whereas a Front of Escape still has the key and the map, I believe, unless we got one of those in Sakurai. I wasn't paying attention. Alright, Emok going to decide to say no to Front of Escape for now, and we're going to do Saha instead. Right, Kiko going to take down that blue guard with Fire Rod. Is going to find the map here. And looks like today our green pendant is at Ice Palace, so not going to have to do that dungeon. A little bit unfortunate given that we already have the flippers and the Fire Rod. So the seed kind of giving us a lot of stuff for pendant dungeons, unfortunately, since we have the bow and the Fire Rod. Of course, the Fire Rod is also going to be relevant for clearing Skullwoods, so that might be, hopefully Skullwoods is... I'd really laugh if Skullwoods was our 3rd pendant today. But we'll have to see once we get into our Dark World. Right, Kiko continuing on in Front of Escape. Gonna find the red boomerang. Unfortunately, Emok runs into a little bit of a mishap with that hook speed, accidentally runs off that cliff. Definitely can happen. Of course, normally when you push up against the cliff, you have, a little bit of a half-second window before Link actually starts falling, but when you're in the super speed state, you will just leap off instantly, so it can be a little bit hard to control sometimes. Okay, but Emok is gonna still say no to Front of Escape. I think this makes sense. If you're committing to Saha, Eastern Palace is right there. You can, of course, flute back to Eastern Palace, so you don't lose that much time, but you are going to lose time a little bit if you don't combo these two together. And looks like Hiko found their hammer in the Front of Escape. So that is Dark World access for Kiko, and I was going to say this is something that I was a little bit afraid of for Emok because, I guess it's not that bad. I guess the worst would be if... I guess it's not as bad as... Because another way this could have played out is Emok could find the hammer in here, and then have their Dark World access, and then, never really touch the Front of Escape. Whereas Kiko could have found something, another progression item that was really important, like, let's say, Cane of Samaria, or the mirror in Front of Escape, and then Emok would have really been in trouble because it would have been a long time until they made it back there, probably. But I think as is, Emok is probably not going to find anything here. It would be really interesting if he found a glove in here, but I don't think that's going to happen. I imagine Emok's probably not going to find anything here, and it's probably going to get funneled to that hammer in Front of Escape. Of course, if there is, some piece of required progression here in Eastern Palace, then Emok is probably feeling really good about that, even though, they are missing out on their hammer for now. It's like just a map in the big chest of Eastern Palace, so both remaining checks do have items, and unfortunately these are the two slowest checks in the dungeon, so... And I think as Emok, you're pretty committed to doing both of these checks here. It does look like we got our map check for the Dark World, and if I'm seeing correctly, is there... no, it looks like Kiko's map tracker is marked a little bit incorrectly, because I do see both Swamp Palace and Skull Woods marked as pendants, but I'm pretty sure, Saha did tell us that the green pendant was on Ice Palace, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe, hopefully not mismarking by Kiko, but we'll have to see once we get our map check from Emok. Alright, just a cart container here in our Vanilla Big Key chest for Emok. Looks like Kiko decided to start out at Height Cave, and is now going to Pyramid Ledge. I don't know for sure, but if I wonder how Kiko feels about doing dark rooms, because it is possible that you could, it is possible to full clear Palace of Darkness with this loadout, and we do even have the Fire Rod to make the turtle room in the basement a little bit easier. There are torches in that room that you can light. Ooh, nice knowledge by Kiko and their mentor, knowing that you can bonk against this tree for a fairy. It's something that usually comes up, if you fail a Ganon fight, but can be useful if you just find yourself here on the overworld with low health. And of course, our runners don't have mail upgrades yet. I don't believe. I'm not familiar with these sprites, but I don't believe they have mail upgrades. So you definitely want to be sure to stay safe over here. Don't want to take any deaths. Looks like Kiko is going to go ahead and try and tackle Palace of Darkness. Like I said, with the Fire Rod, this becomes a lot more manageable. So, alright, in the meantime, Emok is going to be entering their fight with Armos Knights. I'm going to stock up on max arrows before we do it. And looks like we're just going to set up for pretty basic bottom right approach here. Kiko is going to pay the 110 rupee entry fee into Palace of Darkness, and I think Palace of Darkness, if you ever feel confident in doing Palace of Darkness and it is a crystal dungeon, never a bad choice, because it's really hard to combo Palace of Darkness with anything else besides Eastern Palace if you have the mirror. But other than that, it's kind of in its own little isolated pocket of the world. And it's also a dungeon that doesn't necessarily benefit that much from being able to go mode it either, because you usually have to look. Sometimes you have to look for a while for the wherever the big key is. And unfortunately, Emok not getting any progression in Eastern Palace, so that's a good 4 minutes ish down the drain, unfortunately. So we'll see how they decide to play, given that they are kind of down that 4 minutes. But like I said, they are going to be funneled into finding their, finding their hammer over here in the Front of Escape. And I believe the sword that we found on Kiko's side was probably at Hype Cave, so We'll see if Emok decides to do a Hype Cave start. Of course, the other option is to start at the Kakariko portal above Village of Outcasts of Thieves Town. That could be interesting because in that case, Emok would not have a weapon to defeat Blind. So, wonder if that actually contributed to Kiko's choice to start at Hype Cave rather than starting at the Kakariko portal. Of course, it's also possible that Kiko and their mentor just prefer starting in that location anyways. It is certainly a good area to start in for the Dark World. Get access to 5 really quick item checks right away. Okay, nice bonk setup by Kiko to get over that. You do need to have a special setup for that particular bonk. And looks like a little bit of discussion going on potentially about key logic and pod. I wasn't actually counting the keys here, so not exactly sure what the count is. Since I saw Kiko go down the right side drop down, I'm going to assume that the left side drop down, the vanilla big key chest, is just a small key for a small key based on what I saw happen. So, alright, looks like Emok is going to get their hammer here, and I assume it's just it's probably just the small key left at Dark Cross, because I do believe we saw the map, so no need to do Dark Cross today. And we'll see where Emok decides to start their journey into the Dark World. I believe Kiko is still looking for their big key here in Palace of Darkness, if I'm not mistaken. And Emok is going to fleet away. Ooh, unfortunate fall by Kiko. Really, yeah. That mini Helmasaur on the other side of this bridge can really be a jerk. Looks like Emok is going to do the same thing as Kiko and head into this Hype Cave portal. We'll see if we get a map check from Emok so that we can confirm our pendants for today, where our third pendant is, and it looks like the last pendant is at Swamp Palace. So hopefully Kiko did not just mismark and switch Ice Palace and Skullwoods. Looks like they found their Master Sword here in... that Master Sword is actually in Logic because the room that Kiko was in does have some torches, so the Fire Rod does actually put them into Logic. But the room that they're going into now has no torches, so this is technically out of Logic. The check's in here. But they're going to try to make their way through anyways. Looks like Emok... it looks like the mushroom was also here in Hype Cave, so probably not something that's going to be a priority, but Emok is going to find their sword as well. Definitely a welcome sight. And we'll see if Emok also follows Kiko into Palace of Darkness. Like I said, it is a crystal dungeon and we can full clear it, and I think if you feel confident in doing it with just a Fire Rod, I think it definitely makes sense to do. I think stopping by Pyramid Ledge, as Kiko did, is also reasonable, but it looks like Emok is going to go ahead and go left here instead, so I imagine they're going to go to Stumpy and Dig Game, and they're going to say no to Palace of Darkness for now, so either this is a difference in how they want to just route the Dark World overall. It is true that if you want to get to Palace of Darkness, we do have the flute, so it's not really that bad thing to just, even if they save and quit here after Stumpy and Dig Game, they can just start at Link's house, flute over to 5, and then get to Palace of Darkness that way. So this doesn't necessarily mean that Emok is not going to do Palace of Darkness. We'll see what they do after finishing Dig Game. Ooh, and I was going to say an unfortunate death on Kiko's side, but I imagine they probably just finished the Dark Maze and they were just taking an intentional death for a Death Warp. So looks like if I am seeing things correctly, they just have to fight and take down Helmsaur. This is going to be probably the most dangerous part of the dungeon for them, as they are going to be heading into the basement. And Emok finds the Ice Rod at Dig Games. That's definitely going to be a required item for us today, since Turtle Rock is a crystal dungeon. But Dig Game is not an often skipped check, so I'm not super worried about Kiko skipping that. It is always nice to find the Ice Rod early. Nice to not have a seed where we're just hunting all over the world for the Ice Rod. Looks like Emok is dashing over to do... confused why they didn't flute. Maybe they just forgot. Okay, I was gonna say we do have access to Magic Bat, so Emok gonna say no to Magic Bat for now. I'm just gonna head over to the Kakariko portal. So this to me tells me that either they want to prioritize, Village of Outcasts, Thieves Town, and Skull Woods just as dungeons over pod, or maybe they just would like to have some additional safety for doing pod in the dark. As I said, some runners do feel comfortable doing pod with the fire rod only. Other runners would rather have a lamp or just like a few more resources. It looks like Emok is going to rush over to Skull Woods here. So I imagine we're going to see probably Skull Woods into Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town, I imagine, from Emok's side. Those are, of course, Skull Woods and Thieves Town being both clearable crystals. And Emok is going to go ahead and start at the back of Skull Woods. Makes a lot of sense because you want to walk out at the front anyways to go to Thieves Town. So perfectly sensible ordering. And Kiko does get that torch lit in their first try, so the rest of this room is going to be pretty easy. Looks like Emok actually did skip the vanilla big key chest there. He's probably going to end up coming back for it. Oh, narrowly dodges getting grabbed by that Wall Master. Okay, that scared me for a second. Oh no, Kiko having a little bit of trouble with these turtles. He's going to have to light the torch again. All right, see if they can have better luck. It is a little bit awkward sometimes to just use the hammer here because the hammer, of course, damages the turtles, but also flips any nearby ones back over. Okay, yeah, taking a second to light the other torch just for some extra safety. And does get that room done. Very nice job by Kiko. Okay, and Emok continuing to make their way through the back of Skull Woods. Going to be going towards their fight with Mothula, one of the hardest bosses to fight with low equipment. Emok is going to have a harder time on this fight than Kiko is. Oh, we see some bomb strats by Kiko. All right, nice. Each bomb is going to do the equivalent of 4 hammer hits, so this can be an alternative approach. Okay, and Emok is going to the fight with Mothula. Let's wish him luck. Each fire rod shot is going to do this equivalent damage of a Master Sword swing, but now it's just up to either Fighter Sword or Hammer. Hammer is actually a really potent weapon against Mothula, going to take out 25% of Moth's HP in each swing if you can get a clean hit. But of course, that's easier said than done, given the small range of hitbox. Alright, there's a really tense fight for Emok. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, hitting Mothula from above does take full advantage of the hammer's better hitbox when you're swinging downward, and very nice job by both runners. Kiko both runners actually barely making alive out of their respective fights, and both runners going to be getting their first crystal at about the same time, around 30 minutes, 31 or 32 minutes into the seed. All right, Emok going to go ahead and try to get their other items get the last remaining item here in Skull Woods. And of course, this is the reason why, you want to do this back to front if you're already hoping to go to Village of Outcasts afterwards anyways, because, we just checked those 2 tests and we're already done with Skull Woods. We got to skip the front of Skull Woods entirely, and we did also get our lamp, which means Emok is now going to have an easier time going through Palace of Darkness. So I have to imagine that's probably where they're headed now. In the meantime, Kiko going to go turn in their mushroom and get a potion. I wonder if Kiko is going to make good use of that potion as they go to head over to do Thieves Town and Skull Woods. Looks like Emok is actually going to stay away from pods still, so I guess they're prioritizing Thieves Town and Village of Outcasts. There are, I guess, slightly more checks there, 7 checks in Thieves Town plus Village of Outcasts compared to only 5 checks in pods, so I guess this is higher density. Doesn't, I guess, yeah, and I guess, from Emok's perspective, it doesn't super matter what order you do these checks in. I guess if you end up finding, like, your mitts, you could end up, picking up the smith. But as we know, it's not like the mitts are actually, it's not like any progression overall was in Palace of Darkness whatsoever. I think all we found out of there was the Master Sword, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so Kiko is stepping into their Kakariko portal, and looks like they are going to follow the footsteps of Emok and head straight to Skull Woods. Like I said, they are going to have a bit of an easier fight with Mothula, since they do have the Master Sword on hand, as well as the blue bottle that a bottle that we just filled with blue goo from the potion shop. they are actually going to have less health, however, than Emok did, because Emok did have, I think Emok found two full heart containers in Eastern Palace, if I remember correctly. So that is at least something that, Emok did get out of Eastern Palace, even though they didn't get any progression. They probably would have rather, just saved that time, but, at least they got something for their troubles. Alright, Emok not finding anything relevant in Village of Outcasts, but going to go ahead and full clear Thieves Town. Kiko is going to go check this vanilla big key chest, but it's just a small key, as we know, because both of the items in Skull Woods were in the back. So I have to imagine, let's see, so Emok, it's hard to exactly tell who's ahead between our two runners. So Emok has already done Skull Woods, which Kiko's doing right now. They're going to do Thieves Town, and then Kiko's also going to do Thieves Town, but Emok, remember, still has to do Palace of Darkness. But aside from that, the only difference here is that Emok has not checked Pyramid Ledge and decided to check Stumpy and Dig Game instead. So Kiko is probably going to do that after... so I imagine they're going to do Skull Woods and then head over to Thieves Town and Village of Outcasts and then pick up their Ice Rod from Dig Game and then go to Stumpy from there. I don't think we saw a check of Bumper Cave Ledge from Emok, if I'm not mistaken. Could actually be relevant since we do have the Magic Cape to get whatever is on Bumper Cave. Okay, let's see how Kiko does with this Mothula fight. It is looking to be, I guess, overall, probably a little bit easier. They do have less health, but they do have that blue potion that they're probably going to use here on this fight. Emok actually has to be a little bit careful here in Thieves Town. Only has 2 hearts, and these grasshoppers in the attic of Thieves Town do 2 hearts of damage, so Emok gonna want to be careful here. But Kiko locked in combat with Mothula. And yeah, not electing to use the hammer just yet. Just yet, at least. Sword, of course, is going to do... Their Master Sword is only going to do half the amount of damage as a hammer swing, but going to have a much better hitbox. Yeah, it looks like they're waiting to pop that blue potion until their life gets low enough. Alright, and they have a full bar of magic to use on Fire Rod shots, and they can also use slashes. Either way does equivalent damage. Looks like Emok made it out of the attic alive without taking a hit, so great job. And Kiko gonna take down Mothula. Did have to use that blue potion, but I think in Kiko's case, going into that fight with that many resources, I think that's pretty much expected. Nice usage of the powder by Emok to refill their health. Now can breathe a little bit easier, not being in one-hit KO mode. And Kiko's gonna go back in to get their lamp. I will say there was maybe some merit in getting this bridge chest that Kiko's doing right now first before Mothula. It does save one, dungeon transition, and you can get a death warp to, potentially reset your health. I don't remember exactly how much health Kiko had upon entering in here. Looks like Kiko is going to go ahead and choose a different path than Emok. He's going to walk out of Skull Woods instead of saving and quitting and fluting like Emok did. Let me think. I am actually not sure which way is faster. I know if you have a mirror, it's faster to use the mirror, but I'm not sure in this specific case which way is faster. Nice dash by Emok there. Yeah, so slightly different approaches for, routing through these dungeons. Even though both of our runners basically doing almost the same, identical sets of checks so far. We don't have any crazy divergence. They're doing things in a different order and taking slightly different approaches. Alright, so we have Emok entering their fight with Blind here. Not super worried given that they have full health and also a cape on hand. Looks like, let's see. Yeah, looks like a little bit off on the script. I think their first or second hit, they accidentally got a spin. That can happen if you release B a little bit too early. Can get what's called like a poke spin, where you manage to poke and then also spin. That's actually something that you want to do in certain strategies, but you definitely don't want to do against Blind. All right, looks like we got our red mail upgrade from off of Blind. I guess we already had blue mail. Okay. Oh, of course, that makes sense. You know, Emok's sprite color probably changed from... was it blue? Okay, I don't remember. I'm not going to pretend that I remember what color the sprites were. I'm just here commentating on the gameplay. Alright, so Kiko gonna go and head into Thieves Town. Emok is gonna take this opportunity to dash up and check Bumper Cave. We'll see if they decide to take this all the way over to Catfish. They could also put off Catfish and, I guess, combo it with Pyramid Ledge if they choose to do that later, but kind of up to them what they decide. The bottle with the fairy over there, and that, you know, as far as Emok is concerned, that could actually be super relevant because they don't have a bottle yet. I think Kiko found their bottle in Palace of Darkness. So yeah, Emok gonna go ahead and pick this up. This is a pretty easy check to do. Sick Kid is pretty easy to do. That is, because we have the flute, so you can just flute to Kakariko whenever you want. Alright, Emok gonna say no to Catfish for now. We'll see if they decide to follow up on Sick Kid and Hammer and Magic Bat, or whether they decide to turn in their Mushroom, or whether they just go and rush straight over to Pod, which is their remaining clearable crystal dungeon. Although I guess we still have Tower of Hera as well, so... Although I have to imagine you kind of have a little bit more reason to put off the mountain, given that if we have our mitts, we get access to, you know, East Dark Death Mountain. So Emok gonna go and do Palace of Darkness here. I have to imagine that Kiko is going to be done with Thieves Town before Emok is going to be done with Palace of Darkness. Of course, Emok has already done some additional checks, right? They've already done Dig Game, the other Village of Outcast checks. They've already done Stumpy. They've also already done a check of Magic, a check of Bumper Cave. So we'll see how much time that ends up taking Kiko overall. Emok is probably gonna, I imagine that Emok is also gonna gain a little bit of time here in Palace of Darkness, since they do have the lamp that they got from Skull Woods. You know, Kiko having to navigate through the dark maze in the dark, and also having to fight the turtles using the fire rod. And that room did take, you know, quite a bit of extra time for Kiko, so we'll see if Emok can perform a little bit better, given that they have some better equipment to do this with. It looks like Pod was bow-locked. I guess I wasn't paying attention the first time when we saw Kiko go through this, so Pod is bow-locked, so only one choice of route for our runners to go through after the first chest. So when all is said and done, where could our brush? I guess so. After both our runners are done with their respective checks, and you know, Kiko's probably going to end up at Stumpy at the end of all this. I imagine for both our runners, the next step is going to be Tower of Hera. Let's see, what else have we not seen yet? So Emok still has to do Mushroom Turn-In, and Sick Kid. We haven't seen Magic Bat from either runner. That could be something that's interesting to see. Not that... Obviously, it's not super ideal for, you know, Kiko to get, because it's kind of just a one-off, but the only better chance that we have of like comboing Magic Bat with something else would be if we have our Mirror and our Mitts, and then we could combo it with, you know, a Smith Turn-In. Alright, Kiko entering their fight with Blind. Like I said, both of our runners have access to the Magic Cape, so not super worried about this going wrong. Looks like Kiko did get a slightly faster Phase 1, and is a little bit closer to being on script. Alright, and done with Phase 2, and like I said, not super worried about this fight, given that they can just put on the cape whenever they're feeling in danger. And looks like they're gonna like to do that for the last hit, and no problems getting that fight done. Looks like Emok on his side did do the same bonk setup that Kiko did, and correctly recognizing that both of these chests are just small keys, so we only needed one of them. I will say, if you do know how to do the hammer and bomb jump in this dungeon, that can actually save you an extra small key, so that would have actually, you know, negated the need to do that right-hand side drop down. So that is one of the advantages of being able to do the hammer and bomb jump, but of course it is a tricky setup that requires very precise visual cues and positioning, so not surprised if, you know, if mentees, you know, in week 3 are not feeling rushing at the bit to try and attempt that. Okay, Kiko, as expected, finishing the Village of Outcast checks, and Emok just decides to use the hookshot to stun that mini Helmasaur Beetle so that they don't run into the same situation that Kiko did. Right, and Kiko gonna be grabbing their Ice Rod here in digging, and then making their way Stumpy. And I have to imagine that the next step for them is probably to save and quit, and head off to Hera. Unfortunately, they're going to have to go the long way, because we don't have a mirror on hand, so they're going to have to go through Paradox Cave, but I don't really see better options for them. The only other option would be to dash all the way up to Bumper Cave, check that, and then dash all the way to Catfish. So those are pretty slow checks. I don't know if I'd do that myself. I guess doing Magic Bat before going up the mountain might be something that would be worth considering. And I guess Kiko still has to do the... I guess both our runners actually still have to do the Old Man Rescue, so... Potential... We do have the potential that we could just, find our mirror there and then be really happy because we get to just have a faster route to Tower of Hera. Alright, Emok, yeah, trying to autopilot switch to their mirror, but unfortunately, yeah, we don't have the mirror on hand, and fortunately for Emok, the Kodongo Flames here do a full heart of damage no matter what armor upgrade you have, but it looks like since Emok has a full 10 hearts and a fairy on hand, looks like he is just going to elect to walk over to Helmasaur. Not a bad idea given, it lets you keep your fairy, you have a ton of health here anyways. I forget whether it's faster to go through this screen than... Oh yeah, this has to be faster, there's less screen transitions, so... We're routing that Emok, and we are going to see the Old Man Rescue on Kiko's side. Are we going to get the mirror that would be super nice to get to Hera, or is it going to be something else? Come on, old man. It's just going to be a heart container. Alright, so Kiko gonna have to commit to getting to Tower of Hera the long... Oh no, actually they're going to fleet away, maybe do Magic Bat? No. This is going to be... Oh, yeah, that's right. They still haven't done Saha. Okay, this makes perfect sense, yeah. You haven't done Saha yet. It's a pretty fast 3 checks. We'll see if they end up committing to Eastern Palace here, though. That could be an interesting decision. I think I would probably still... Yeah, double-checking the map, I guess. I'd probably still be trying to skip Pendant Eastern here. I know Hera does take a little bit longer to get to, but it is a Crystal Dungeon. You have to do it. We also get to combo with Spike Cave, so 2 items from Tower of Hera plus 1 item from Spike Cave, plus it's a required crystal. I feel like I personally would be valuing that more than Eastern Palace, but I do kind of wonder if Magic Bat has the answer, especially given that we know nothing's in Eastern Palace. Alright, looks like we are going to see Magic Bat from Kiko's side. Very curious to see what this is. Okay, in the meantime, Emok going to be doing this Turtle Room. And yeah, just like I expected, going to be saving, not doing it perfectly, but going to be saving quite a lot of time compared to Kiko. We saw Kiko do that room with like multiple relightings of the torches, so definitely going to be saving some time. But of course, when all said is done, Emok is going to still be behind here, and that is again because he decided to make that play into Eastern Palace after checking Saha. So that's a good 4 minutes of time that is. That Emok is behind right now. Although they have also, done some additional checks that Kiko hasn't yet. Or is that true? No, Kiko did actually end up checking Bumper Cave, it looks like. So, okay, so Kiko now committing to going to Tower of Hera the long way after checking Magic Bat, and it looks like Magic Bat did not have anything for us today, so that's a little bit of a disappointment. So it looks like our progression has to be either at Tower of Hera or Spike Cave or Catfish is the only outlier that we haven't checked yet. So hopefully it's at Hera or Spike Cave. Otherwise, you feel pretty bad if you last location something. I guess technically you don't feel that bad for last location progression on Catfish because it is a pretty slow check. It does tend to be skipped over by a lot of runners. It's kind of just off in the middle, in the very corner of the dark world. It's really slow to get to. Alright, so it looks like Emok actually might be showing us our catfish check shortly, actually. So they decided to take a different approach, and instead of, just saving and quitting here, they're going to walk out of Palace of Darkness to Pyramid Ledge. This is actually faster than, taking an extra save and quit to Link's house and then taking the Hype Cave portal. It's not that much faster because walking out of the Pod Dark Maze does take, quite a bit of time, but it is a little bit faster. So if you're going to do the check anyways, this is the faster way to do it. Looks like we're seeing a Hera pot set up by Kiko here. Very nicely done, clipping into that fountain, letting us skip most of the dungeon here. We'll see if there ends up being an item in the basement though, however. I have to imagine that as Kiko, if there is an item here in the basement, you kind of have to get it. Because it takes a long time to get back to Tower of Hera, and you really don't have a lot of choices once you're done with Spike Cave. Alright, so Emok gonna show us what Catfish has. This could be a big moment here. If Catfish has our progression, then Kiko potentially gonna have to last locate that, which never feels good. On the other hand, it's not like what Kiko's doing is, a waste of time. They are gonna have to fight Moldorm at some point. Right, trying to get these 3 hammer hits on Moldorm. And what is Catfish going to have for us today? Is it going to be something important, or is it just going to be trash? It is going to be just 10 arrows. So it looks like progression is either on Hera or Spike Cave, and there's the mirror on Moldorm, so we had to go to Tower of Hera the long way. No choice about it. I think this also means, so by my count, there is still an additional item left in Tower of Hera, I think at least according to the tracker, and it looks like Kiko is going to go back and get it. So that mirror did unlock some interesting options, so it of course lets us do K45, lets us do Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb, which Kiko is going to be able to route a little bit better, because, after Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb, they can also combo that with Catfish, so that particular part of the routing equation working out a little bit better. Oh, unfortunately, gets a little bit tripped up on the bomb setup for taking their coffee break. Right, there you go. So standing on those pegs, of course, gives you invincibility frames, so you just don't have to worry about dodging these tiles. Right, and Emok going to be, unfortunately, getting trapped by this dead rock. That can definitely happen. It's not like you can just dash off screen really quickly at that point either. So as I was saying, besides Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, the mirror does also unlock K45, and most notably, the mirror does give us full access to a full clearable Swamp Palace. And I have to imagine that is probably the most likely place for us to find the next piece of progression here, given that there's 6 items over in Swamp. Kiko, unfortunately, going to have to do this Hera pot setup again and get all the way to the big chest. I always hate doing the doing the basement to get the big key and then having to do this extra trip to get all the way to the big chest. Makes Hera basement even slower than it normally is, and it already takes like a full minute just to get the chest in the basement itself. Ooh, and really unfortunate fall. All Kiko had to do was to just hookshot to the big chest, but unfortunately, probably accidentally fell there. But not a huge deal. They just have to do their Hera pot setup again, but definitely feels bad. All right, Emok just stepping into Tower of Hera right now. So I imagine they're gonna follow suit and do their own Hera pot setup. Is Kiko gonna find something big in this big chest here? Let's see. Just gonna be a red rupee, so unfortunately, that long time investment not paying off here. They are gonna go ahead and trek Spike Cave, of course, since it's right here. But after that, I have to imagine it's gonna be probably heading to Swamp Palace, unless they want to take a trip to the North Darkworld loop. The interesting thing is going to be whether they elect to stop by Cave 45 before Swamp Palace. If Cave 45 has, for example, your mitts, you could elect to go elsewhere and skip Swamp Palace entirely, so that could be worth considering. Alright, just Red Rupee in Spike Cave. And Emok is going to be setting up for their Herapod glitch. Assuming they don't... Okay, good. I was going to say, yeah, you definitely don't want to pick up that heart in midair, as that will mess up your bomb knockback. Okay, very nice setup, and Kiko gonna flute away. Looks like they are gonna flute the Kakariko, so it looks like they're interested in following up on the North Dark World checks. So they're gonna be doing probably Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, and what's it called? Probably all the way over to Catfish. I will say every check that we have left is gated by the mirror, aside from Eastern Palace, which Kiko hasn't done, I guess. I do wonder if, let's see, I don't know offhand whether these 3 checks in a row are more or less efficient than it is to get the items out of Swamp Palace. One, extra consideration when choosing to do, these 3 checks versus Swamp Palace is that, when you go into Swamp Palace, ooh, unfortunate fall on Moldorm by Emok. One additional consideration is, the thing about Swamp Palace is that, when you go into Swamp Palace, you have to make a decision on whether you want to get the items on the left side of Swamp Palace, and ideally you can put off Swamp Palace until later on, because that will give you more information as to whether you want to commit to that time sink. Ooh, that was really close by Emok. Oh, he just needs to land this last hit. Moldorm not really cooperating. Emok looked like they had a couple really close hammer hits, but just missed. But they do manage to finish off the fight the second time, and they are going to score their mirror. Let's see if they do decide to spend the time getting that Red Rupee out of the big chest here, or whether they decide that they are just going to not bother getting that. I will say Emok does have a lot more open to them that they haven't checked yet, right? They still have to do Sick Kid, they still have to do Magic Bat. It looks like they are going to go ahead and spend the time for this investment as well. So both runners electing to be pretty thorough with their checks. Alright, Kiko not finding anything in King's Tomb. So he's going to go over to Catfish. So both our runners being able to head over to the corner of the world and visit our friend Catfish here. So after this, Kiko is going to have a choice between Eastern Palace and Swamp Palace and K45. Of course, if they choose Eastern Palace, that is really big for Emok, as that, is going to be 4 minutes of time that Emok is going to get back. If they choose Swamp Palace, that is going to be good for Kiko, as, they just avoided the trip into Eastern Palace. Between the 2 dungeons, Eastern Palace and Swamp Palace is definitely more efficient in terms of the amount of items that you get for the amount of time investment. That applies whether you do Left Side Swamp or not. Swamp Palace, just having 6 items just makes it a lot more efficient. Alright, Emok mirroring, and then going to be doing their second Herapod. And Kiko, well, we'll see if they choose to make a pit stop at K45 first. It's really the mitts is our big ticket item that we're looking for, right? And it's just, ooh, Emok gonna have to try that Herapod setup again. Oh, misses it again. Both of our runners having a little bit of trouble getting to the big chest today. And looks like Kiko is going to make a stop at the at K45. All right, come on, Emok, you got this. You just need to hold your sword out while you... Okay, very nice. And like I said, it's mainly the mitts that is our big ticket item that we're still waiting on. Okay, Cannon Burna, nice luxury item to have, is going to be more efficient than the Magic Cape. But Kiko decides that the Magic Cape is good enough for them. And Emok, unfortunately, going to be disappointed to see just a Red Rupee in that big chest. But not really any time gained or lost, of course, because Kiko did the same thing and did that same check. I will say, I wonder if that was, something that I wonder if that check was the kind of thing that Emok and Scatsman could have considered skipping, given that, they spent all that time doing Eastern Palace. I know they don't know that Kiko decided to skip out on Eastern Palace, but on Emok, as far as Emok knows, they did do that. They did spend those 4 minutes doing all of Eastern Palace and kind of got nothing out of it, right? Besides 2 heart containers. I wonder if that Hera basement check was something that they could have considered skipping to try and get themselves back some time. Could be the same story for So Emok is deciding to jump into Swamp Palace a lot earlier than Kiko. This could actually work out really nicely for them because, as we know, there's no progression in any of the checks that they have left over. There's no progression in Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, Mushroom Turn-In, Magic Bat. So none of those checks have anything for us. So our progression has to be here somewhere in Swamp Palace. And if it's the Mitts, I guess we have to find our Mitts here, right? It's either going to be the Mitts or we already know the book is on Desert Ledge, so it can't be that. So it either has to be the Mitts or fetch quest item, like the shovel, I think, is the only one we haven't seen. We're going to be finding one of those here. And, Kiko has the advantage that they have literally checked everything else besides Eastern Palace, so they, if they decide to skip Left Side Swamp, they're probably gonna go back in for it, I have to imagine. Emok, unfortunately, doesn't have that knowledge, so if Emok decides to skip Left Side Swamp the first time through, and doesn't actually find the Titan's Mitts, they could be tempted to leave and do other checks, and that would be really bad for them, so... Alright, looks like Kiko is going to be the first to show us the Compass chest here, Emok trailing them by not that much, actually, here. So this could actually work out really interestingly, because we pretty much know that our Mitts are going to be here somewhere. So if both of our runners find that, then Emok could actually end up making a lot of time back here, because, with the Mitts on hand, they are going to be less incentivized to check a bunch of the checks they haven't done yet. We're going to have I guess we're still going to be looking for Samaria, so we might not want to go straight to Misery Mire or TR, especially not TR because we can't do anything there. Okay, so this is really interesting. Emok deciding to do Left Side Swamp the first time around, whereas Kiko is going to choose to go to the back. We'll see how this plays out. This could be really good. This could be really bad for Emok, actually, if the Mitts are here in the back, because then Kiko might just leave. But if the Mitts are on the left side, then I think this works out just fine for Emok. It is not that much faster to do Left Side Swamp the first time around, but it is faster. It does save you a little bit of time, depending on, of course, on where the big key is, but I think we got the big key in the very first chest, so that's not an issue. Kiko gonna go ahead and pick up this extra key, so I guess they're probably not gonna get the key on Left Side Swamp if they go back in here to get it. So we'll see. One check left for Kiko to potentially find their Mitts and skip Left Side Swamp, otherwise they're gonna have to make a choice on whether to do that or go to Eastern Palace, and the Mitts are on left side, so that is great for Emok. They're gonna decide to stay here in this dungeon, at least for this check, and looks like they're gonna keep on staying here as well. This is a big decision point for Emok, because, you could just mirror out of here and say, like, okay, I have a full clearable, Desert Palace, I can also grab my book, I can do Smith Chain, and I have 6 items, 6 really fast items waiting for me on Death Mountain. If one of those is Samaria, I could just be in go mode, but it looks like Emok is gonna decide to play this a little bit more thoroughly, and since they're already here in Swamp Palace, they are going to be thorough and check the remainder of the items here. If Samaria is on Argus, that would be crazy, because then Emok would just be solidly in the lead here, I think. But it's not. Okay. So we're still on a hunt for the Cane of Samaria. I was going to go wild if that situation actually happened. Alright, so where could the Cane of Samaria be? We know it has to be locked by the Mitts somewhere. It looks like Kiko is going to go back in, which is not surprising. It's good that they did instead of going to Eastern Palace, because as we know, Eastern Palace doesn't have anything, so looks like this is still going to be a pretty competitive race so far from where things stand. it's really just going to be up to, you know, which of our runners is going to discover the myths first. So all right, so we have the fastest, most efficient checks we have open to us right now are the 6 checks at Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave, but we also have probably a priority before that is to do to check out Mire Shed, Checkerboard Cave, and just finish off Desert Palace and get our red crystal from there. That will also open up Pyramid Fairy, I believe. Yeah, because our other red crystal was at Palace of Darkness, so that also opens the Pyramid Fairy. It's actually nice for... No, Emok has Emok done Pyramid Fairy yet? Let's see, they did... Yes, they did, because they walked out of it to pod. Okay, so... Yeah, so it also opens up Pyramid Fairy, and then of course we have Smith Chain, which is going to be a little bit extra efficient for Emok, because they're going to combo Smith Chain with Magic Bat and Sick Kid, which they still haven't done, I think. So it's looking like... ooh. Kiko setting up... Okay, I'm a little bit confused what's happening here. Looks like Kiko is setting up for... Oh, okay, so they're setting up for this diver down, not to get the key, but just to get transition to the screen above so that the delayed bomb explosion can hit the switch. I will say this is actually slower than just walking around. Yeah, so it's actually faster to just hit the switch with your sword and then just walk around. I think doing the diver down glitch just to hit the... If you need the key, then that's a perfect reason to do the dive down glitch. But I believe, based on my timings that I've done, if you just need to get the peg hit, it's faster to just slash the switch with your sword and then go around. Of course, it depends on your individual execution, and there's some tricks you can do. But all right, Emok gonna go ahead and it looks like they elected to do Cave 45 after Swamp Palace. A little bit interesting. I think they could have also considered... no, I guess this makes sense. I was going to say they could have considered doing K45 on the way to turning in the purple chest, but I think this makes sense to do now, because now when you grab the purple chest, you can just mirror and then flute, and that's really fast. Does make Bombos Tablet... Would make Bombos Tablet a little bit awkward, because we know we're going to get our book off of Desert Ledge, but maybe that's not the hugest deal. Yeah, I guess hopefully for Emok, Samara is not on Bombos Tablet. That's what I'll say. All right, so we're gonna get a check, and we do not need a medallion. We don't need Bombos for Misery Mire, so only 1/3 chance that we need Bombos today, and that would be to open up Turtle Rock. Okay, both our runners kind of in the exact same place. Kind of crazy how the timing worked out coming out of Swamp Palace. So Emok is like very slightly ahead in terms of where they are in the current screens, but overall Kiko does have more checks done, so it's going to come down to which check... I think a lot of this is going to come down to which checks does Emok choose. And to a lesser extent, which checks, Kiko chooses, but like... I think a bigger factor is which checks Emok chooses, because Emok has more potential for losing time here, because we have a bunch of checks that Kiko has already done that Emok hasn't. Of course, now that they have their mitts, they are going to potentially be able to do some of those checks more efficiently, but we'll see how it works out. Alright, so both runners picking up the book, and going to be heading into Desert Palace to look for their big key and the 2 items that are here. Looks like there's a small key on the torch. It's always fun when you get 2 runners in the very same dungeon. You get to see, okay, which of our runners is actually going to gain any time on their execution. Unfortunately, Emok not having any luck hookshotting the key. I don't actually know whether... Yeah, maybe that key... Maybe you can't hookshot keys that are on torches? Yeah, that actually makes sense. I know you can hookshot or boomerang the key, the big key that's dropped from Ball and Chain Guard. So that's a nice one, but yeah, I think if you could hookshot a key from the torch, you would probably do it in GT as well. Maybe? Actually, I'm not sure about that one. Alright, looks like Kiko, after finding... I think... Did we find the big key in that other chest? Looks like Kiko actually decided to go straight to Lanmo, rather than going to the right side, so this is an interesting approach. Big key... Yeah, so big key was there... Yeah, interesting that Kiko didn't even go to the right side at all. So Emok is also skipping the big chest, leaving that behind. This actually, this I know for a fact is faster on average, to go to Landmo first and then go to the big chest if you have to. I'm not sure if what Kiko's doing is faster on average, but I also haven't done the timings for that one, so. It'll definitely work out faster if Samario's on Landmo. I'll say that for sure. All right, so Kiko about to enter their fight with Landmo, and Emok just, let's see, just like a couple screens behind, actually. This could be very close. All right. It's going to be Fire Rod shots for this Landmo fight. 2 Fire Rod shots is going to take down each Landmo worm. Unfortunately, Kiko not getting a lot of shots on that first cycle. Okay, manages to pick up 2 of the Landmos and only needs to get this last one. Hopefully their timing is on point. Nice job. All right, let's see how Emok does. Both runners electing to use the strategy of holding their sword out southward. Does make strafing left and right a little bit easier, as you don't have to turn downward after each shot. But it does reduce your movement speed a little bit, so there's trade-offs definitely. I feel like Emok was just able to make up a little bit of time on that fight, narrowly reducing the gap here. Looks like Kiko... Oh, yeah, but Kiko still has to do the right side, that's right. So Kiko gonna be looking for their second item, and they're gonna actually... Emok actually gonna get away with skipping the big chest entirely, so that is gonna work out great for them. Looks like Kiko did not? Oh, okay, so... Oh, I see what happened. So Kiko, I guess, checked the big chest already? And now it's checking the right side? I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so Emok, where's Emok gonna go now? That's a real question. Are they gonna go up to the mountain to check those 6 checks? Okay, that was my first instinct too, just because that's the fastest option that we have available right now. And if Samara is there, then you just hop on over to... This is also nice because you get to verify whether you need Bombos or not. Because you're going to need to verify, whether we need that to open up TR. I think this makes perfect sense. This also gives Emok an opportunity to clear out Spike Cave, which I guess they didn't do after Hera. That's a little bit surprising. And of course they can check Ether Tablet as well. A little bit surprised that Emok is going this way. I guess, yeah, if you... Let's see. If you want to... Let's see. I know it's faster to take the other portal if you want to get the items out of Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave. This is faster if you're just heading straight to Turtle Rock, but I think it would have been slightly faster, given that we still are looking for Samaria to go up the other portal. We'll see if Kiko decides to do the same approach of going up Paradox Cave, or whether they decide to hop in this portal instead. It looks like they are going to also head to Paradox Cave. Alright, so both runners taking the same approach here. And it is not Bombos, it is Quake, so just gonna be Samaria for go mode for both of these runners here. And if it is in Hookshot Cave or Super Bunny Cave, we have a real close race on our hands. I guess Ether Tablet is also included there, because I imagine that's going to be next for both of our runners. If not, then we have, I believe it's just Smith Chain and Pyramid Fairy that's left. Oh no, we have Ice Palace as well, and the Green Pendant Turn and Ped. Assuming that Ice Palace is not, assuming that Cold Stare is not Samaria locked, which it could be, but there's no way of knowing that. Okay, so Super Bunny Cave not having anything. Next up is going to be Hookshot Cave. There are 4 checks here. After Hookshot Cave, I have to imagine, yeah, you go to Ether Tablet, but then that's where it starts getting tough. I think Emok has a lot more checks to think about. I think on their side, Smith Chain probably makes the most sense, right? You get to do Smith Chain, Magic Bat, Sick Kid. You get to do all those along the way. You can even go to Bombos Tablet, and then from Bombos Tablet, you could even dash over and do Pyramid Fairy. So I feel like they're pretty incentivized to do that sequence of checks. On Kiko's side, they of course also have Smith Chain, but they also have Pyramid Fairy that they could do, and I'm pretty sure Pyramid Fairy is a little bit more efficient. just in terms of item efficiency compared to Smith Chain. And it's not like you're, well, I say that, but I actually am not sure, because usually for Smith Chain you have to take the purple chest all the way over, but we can just mirror and then flute, so I'm actually not sure which way is more efficient. You did get the shovel from Ether Tablet, so that, yeah, I feel like that kind of is the nail in the coffin in terms of like Emok is almost surely gonna probably do Smith Chain, given that they can also do the shovel dig spot along the way. So they're gonna be able to get a lot of checks along the same path. Have to imagine both of our runners are going to want to try and stay out of Ice Palace for as long as possible, and Misery Mire for that matter. Ice Palace, of course, because, it's a pretty slow dungeon to do without the Cane of Samaria. Pretty inefficient in terms of looking for items there. It is a green pendant, so that makes it a little bit better, but still pretty slow. And then Misery Mire, of course, is also really slow in terms of looking for items, but if you go to Misery Mire and you find your Cane of Samaria then you're just kind of like feeling like a god. Very low chance, but if it is there, you just feel like you won, because then you just get to beat Vitreous, but that's probably not going to happen. I say now, but we shall see. All right, looks like both Kiko and Emok are gonna be doing Smith Chain here. So both runners kind of hot on each other's heels. Emok is gonna unfortunately lose a little bit of time here because they still have to do Sick Kid and Magic Bat. So if Samaria is here, Kiko is gonna be ahead. I feel like almost no matter what, Kiko's gonna end up a little bit ahead here. And again, this is all just coming from what's it called? Diving into Pendant Eastern after Saha early in the game for Emok. Ooh, Emok actually, okay, going a different, oh no, this actually sucks for Emok. They're going over and doing Northdark loop checks instead. So they're doing Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb first, I guess. And then I imagine they're going to do the Mushroom Turn-In and the Mushroom Turn-In, and no, they've already done Catfish, so have they already done the Mushroom Turn-In? I don't remember. Okay, we're gonna see King's Tomb next. This sucks for Emok because, like I said, like this is why it really matters what checks Emok chooses, because we've already seen all of these checks. We know none of these checks have Samaria. These are checks that Emok could have gotten away with skipping entirely if they had chosen differently and done maybe Smith Chain or maybe Pyramid Fairy, wherever Samaria happens to be. Okay, looks like it was just Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb. They're gonna go Flute for their Mushroom Turn-In, okay. So bleeding a little bit more time here. I think if you are hoping for Emok, I guess, yeah, there's no way around it. They're just gonna bleed time here. I think Emok's best chance back into this race is if Kiko decides to go to, they're obviously gonna finish, turning in the purple chest, and then they're going to do Boundless Tablet. So I think we have to hope, if you want Emok to have a real chance in this, we have to hope that Emok either skips Smith Chain or that Kiko doesn't find Samaria here, and then it's a choice between Pyramid Fairy, Ice Palace, and Misery Mire. And, it's definitely possible to choose wrong given those options. Okay, we got a sword from the purple chest turn-in, so that is great. Kiko, okay. I was getting a bit nervous for Kiko. Looks like he was about to flute away, but remembers in time that we still have to check Boundless Tablet. Okay, Kiko is checking Boundless Tablet at looks like about the 1 hour and 18 minute mark. We'll keep that in mind for when Emok gets there, assuming they do well. The thing is, for Emok, they could consider skipping Boundless Tablet. I don't know if I would in their case, but they could consider it, given that they've already done Cave 45, they still have the Shovel Dig spot to get along the way, though. I don't know if it would be advisable to just, flute to turn in the purple chest. Okay, Kiko gonna go a dash over to grab the Big Bomb and check Pyramid Fairy next. This could actually get really interesting because, I think Kiko I think if you're Kiko here and Samaria is okay, first of all, if Samaria is in Pyramid Fairy, Kiko is just ahead. But if Samaria is not in Pyramid Fairy, I think as Kiko here, you probably just choose Eastern? Question mark? Because it's just a faster dungeon than Ice Palace, right? And if that's true, then Kiko could be eating a lot of time because we already know nothing's in Eastern Palace. And we also know that there were items on both the Vanilla Vicky chest and Armos Knights, which are the two slowest checks in the dungeon, so it's not like you get to only do a partial clear in Eastern Palace. So this could be really interesting. I will say, though, there's an argument for doing Ice Palace. I guess there's a metagame argument saying that, like, okay, maybe my opponent did Eastern Palace already because it was in Logic earlier. Oh, and the King of Samaria is at Pyramid Fairy, so forget everything I was just talking about. Kiko is solidly in the lead now. So they're gonna need to head over and finish Misery Mire and Turtle Rock and Emok. I hope, for their sake, they're gonna do Pyramid Fairy ASAP as soon as they're done with Bombos Tablet. I have to imagine they will after this check string. In fact, it's actually... is it better for them? Yeah, it's better for them to dash over with a purple chest so that they stay in the Dark World. Which means they're gonna be checking probably Shovel Dig Spot along the way. Come on, purple chest, yeah. Ooh, they're actually gonna be fluting away. This is nice in that they could skip the Shovel Dig Spot and Bombos Tablet potentially, but they're gonna have to take another trip to the Dark World. Go to that portal. They could end up still making their way to the Shovel Dig Spot as well. I hope for their sake they don't go to Ice. Okay, good. So they're going to take another trip to the portal, and hopefully they're just going to go straight for Pyramid Fairy. Because they're gonna need all the time they can make up against Kiko, who is already in the second room of Mire here. And Emok dashing left. Okay, so it means they're gonna lose a little bit more time. Is this Bombos Tablet? Oh no. I mean, this makes sense. It is a little bit faster. Like, if you're gonna do Bombos Tablet, you gotta just do it from this portal, but unbeknownst to them, they really need to make it to Pyramid Fairy ASAP. Okay, so another thing that could be interesting here is the routing of Mire. And never mind, it's a God Mire. So Kiko actually taking the best possible route through Mire. They even skipped the bridge chest, which you can choose to get or skip. Also, really nice knowledge knowing that there's a bunny beam there. They were only on 2 hearts, but now they are very safe. Okay, so no real... I was gonna say, Mire routing could have a potential to affect this race, but looks like both of our runners going to get a pretty fast big key here in Mire, and Emok, yeah, gonna go ahead and go do this Shovel Dig Spot check. I have to wonder whether it would have been more efficient to just drag the purple chest around and along for these checks instead of taking the flute and then having to do the additional portal south of Link's house. Okay, but now... Okay, I was a little worried that when they took their flute out, but yeah, gonna stay in the Dark World, which means they are gonna go ahead and do Pyramid Fairy next. In the meantime, Kiko looks like they accidentally forgot that, since we have a God Mire and we never hit the Crystal Switch, we don't need to hit it in that room. I think that's happened to all of us more times than we care to admit. So definitely no shame on Kiko for having that happen. Happens to everyone, even the best of us. Alright, and there's the big bomb for Emok. Getting tagged a little bit by that anti-fairy. Unfortunately, you cannot dash upward until you're fully clear of the door, and yeah, you also can't powder Bunny Beam while it's flying at you. So Kiko on low health here, but should be okay given that there's another anti-fairy here to powder in this next screen. And okay, they decided to skip it. I guess they're feeling confident since they already have Magic Cape and Half Magic. Yeah, and they have a fairy on deck anyway, so I guess that's actually perfectly valid. Okay, choosing to use dash strats with the cape here. Yeah, plenty of magic since they've got Half Magic on hand. Unfortunately misses the 0 cycle there, gets 1 lightning beam shot, but no big deal. finishes out the fight with their bow and arrow, and that is go mode for Emok as well. All right, taking down Vitreous at the 1 hour, 23 minute, and 45 second mark. And so basically, Emok is behind a full Misery Mire clear here. We'll see exactly how much time they're behind. So 1 hour, 23 minute, and 45 second mark. And both of our runners are just going to be doing the exact same thing here. They're going to be looting to... I guess Kiko's actually letting their fairy out, so this tells me they're going to make a small stop at the potion shop and refill on potions. Definitely, this is your last chance before fluting up to the mountain and doing Turtle Rock. This is your last chance to stock up on blue potions. Alright, and Kiko is flying to the mountain, going towards Turtle Rock. Ooh, very, very cool Samaria strat there by Emok. I've never actually seen that one before. Oh, and another one too? Oh, that would have been really cool if it hit. I'm gonna have to keep that one in mind for when you don't have sword beams on hand. I'll have to experiment with that. Because usually, the fastest way through this room is, you use sword beams and use fire rod shots, and that feels really good, but of course Emok walked in here with one heart missing, so that strategy just wasn't available. So, interesting idea to use the King of Samaria. I never thought about that before. Okay, Emok unfortunately going to lose a little bit of time checking this chest. Finds the Balmus Medallion, okay. Yeah, Kiko actually, decided to skip that chest, and so they found their big key right away, and then their small key, and so they managed to save a few screens there as well. So Kiko firmly in the lead of this game, and it's just all up to execution plus GT routing here. That is kind of the big ace in the hole, as it were. I don't know if that's the right term. I'm looking for a term. It's the big remaining unknown here in this seed is what route through the Ganon Tower basement are these two runners going to take, and is that going to end up making a difference? Because it definitely could. Besides that, it's just going to be, execution. If Kiko takes an untimely death against Trinex, which I don't imagine will happen given that they have 2 blue potions on hand, but and red mail. But if something disastrous happens, it could be a window for Emok to get ahead again, but we'll see. All right, Kiko taking the optimal pathing through Turtle Rock, choosing to go to the Fire Rod Lock side first and then Mirror. Also nice because you get a full magic refill since you're at the front of the dungeon again. And Emok actually going to gain a little bit of time here on Kiko, given that they remembered not to hit the Crystal Switch. So that's a few screen transition saves. That probably makes up for the fact that they checked the bridge chest, actually, so good on them for remembering that. Alright, and Emok already with the cape paired. I imagine we're going to see a similar, or at least slightly similar strat to Kiko or Vitreous, just making use of the cape for invincibility. And, for doing this, you can use, slashes, spins, or dashes. Some are more optimal than others. Looks like Emok is going to be slightly slower to kill the eyeballs, but not that much slower. Yeah, so it gets a 2 cycle instead of a 1 cycle. Does get some extra bonus hits on the main Vitreous body, so that's kind of nice. Only needed 6 arrow hits instead of the full 8. Okay. I guess it's about, I think we said Kiko was finishing at the 1 hour 23 minute and 45 second mark, so I guess it's about 4 minutes of difference between our runners as it stands, I think. That'll be a little bit shorter if Emok decides to skip the trip to, buy potions, which they very well might since they already have a blue potion and a fairy. Kiko unfortunately getting tagged with that bunny beam, so gonna have to walk out of this room. But it looks like we already have our big key here in Turtle Rock, so we're going to be able to steal the key from the Pokey. And we're going to, I assume we're going to try and skip the big chest here in Turtle Rock. It's pretty standard routing here. This has a very low chance of, needing to go back to the big chest for a key, but the recommended strategy for pretty much everyone. It is definitely faster on average. And looks like we don't even have to do Laser Bridge today, unless Kiko or Emok wants to look for Silvers on the bridge, or another sword. But I think Silvers are the main item that would be beneficial for either of our runners. It does cut down the time it takes to defeat Ganon quite a bit. But that would be the only reason we'd want to check the chests on Laser Bridge, as we already have our small key that we need to get to Trinex. Okay, Kiko making use of the hookshot to get some invincibility frames to save on some damage from those fire bars. A little bit of a trade-off, because using the hookshot does stop the movement of your Samaria platform, so it's up to you whether you want to value the time or value the hearts. Okay, nice Samaria strat by Kiko there, and Emok is going to take the same routing as Kiko did. So we're going to these Firelock checks, and then I assume they're going to mirror. And Kiko is going to go into their fight with Trinex. It's going to be 5 Tempered Sword slashes per head. They've got plenty of resources, so I'm not really worried about this fight. Just a matter of how cleanly they can get it done. Very nice so far. This is a slash there, but nice dodge. And takes down both heads. Looks like a 2-cycle there for Trinex phase 1, and all that's left is phase 2. Lining up for an initial spin setup, and takes down the fight without too many problems. And it looks like they are finishing the fight at about the 1 hour 30-minute mark, and let's say 40 seconds-ish, or 45 seconds. Ooh, unfortunate situation by Emok. I really hate that Red Stalfos there. One of the meanest placed enemies in the game, for sure. Alright, so Kiko basically going to come out of the exiting Turtle Rock at the 1 hour and 31-minute mark. So we'll remember that as a benchmark for comparison for when Emok gets there. But all that's left is to head over to Ganon's Tower and figure out how we're going to route through the basement as we look for the Ganon's Tower big key. And yeah, as I said, GT basement routing is pretty much the main shot that Emok has here in really catching some time up. Other than Vault and Molnorm 2, or something happening on the Ganon fight. Of course, execution in the GT basement and the GT climb can also, of course, make a factor. Can also play a definite difference. Looks like Kiko is going to go to Compass Room first, so this is going to be either Compass Room and then Mirror, or full right route, either one. I will say this is probably... Oh, Emok actually going to lose some time here because they're choosing to open the big chest. A little bit surprised here. I think skipping the big chest is a very, very common move here. I think it only has like a 3% chance if you look at the stats of needing to open the big chest here. Yeah, so it's just a piece of heart, because we know that the other key is where was the other key? The other key was in the crystal roller room, right? So it's a few screens ahead of where Emok is. Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit more time loss for Emox. Hopefully that doesn't end up making a difference. That's something that is definitely, if that ends up making the difference in this race, you'll definitely be kicking yourself for it. Okay, looks like Kiko did not find the big key in Compass Room, so did decide to mirror, and there's the silver arrows on GT on the torch, so unless Emok does a full right route, which is pretty rare, and the big key is behind Ice Armos or in the Abominable Floor Room, which is also pretty rare, both of our runners are probably going to have the silver arrows for the Ganon fight. And if Emok decides to do, a full left route or a Hope left route, which is pretty popular, or even a Stalfos Room first route, they are going to have the potential to gain some time back on Kiko, but Kiko is going to be the first into the Ganon Tower climb, entering at the 1 hour 33 minute mark and 45 seconds, looks like. All right. Emok is entering their fight with Trinex as Kiko begins their climb. And Silver Arrows is going to make them, these Mimics room a little bit faster since you only need 1 arrow instead of 2. Very nice. Emok having a little bit of trouble on the first head. Quick swapped in advance, but unfortunately missed the last shot with their slash with their sword. It's unfortunate. And looks like Emok also getting a 2-cycle on phase 1 of Trinex, I believe. They really need to just clutch this out, though. Emok on Emok's side, they need to clutch this out and hope that. I guess we want to hope that Emok both clutches it out and also heads left first in GT, or at least does hope left to gain some time. That'll make this a little bit closer of a race. But Kiko already up to the gauntlet. And looks like Emok is behind by about 3 minutes now, coming out of... No, still 4 minutes, yeah, because Kiko was exiting out at the 1 hour and 31 minute mark. So it looks like 4 minutes of difference still between Emok and Kiko. Alright, Kiko entering the second half of the gauntlet here, the ice rooms. I've definitely seen some mentees get really messed up here by the ice and the spikes and the Ibibos. It can be really hard if you don't have very confident strats to do these rooms with. Nice fire rod shot, though. Alright, Kiko needs to be a little bit careful. Only has 1.5 heart here. Gonna try and make it to the next room. I assume they're gonna powder the bunny beam here. Okay, very nice. This is gonna mean that the, since they spent extra time in that room, yeah, the Lambos are gonna spawn together and grouped up, so they're not gonna be able to get a 1-cycle there for sure. And Emok is going left. This is exactly what we want to see here. So they're going to make quite a bit of time up. Probably the best decision, the decision they made in this seed that probably caught them up the most time. And sometimes that's just how it is with GT basement routing. And unfortunately, Kiko not landing this last silver arrow is going to have to resort to finishing the fight off with sword slashes. A little bit of potential for Emok to, gain some time back there. And Emok also going to save time by not opening the upper right chest there in Stalfos Room. They're just going to get started with their climb here. But Kiko still looking pretty strong. Gets the quick kill on those Wizrobes. And a very nice strat for Wizrobes too. Very nice getting that 1-cycle. Okay, we're on to Torches 1 for Kiko. Very nice job on Mimics 2 by Emok. Alright. And yeah, Kiko probably not going to open either of these 2 chests. The only thing that you could really get out of these would be the Gold Sword, but I think especially given that we have Half Magic and the Magic Cape, like even if you have no idea how to do a 1-cycle for Ganon phases 1 and 2, you could literally just spam the Cape and then get a 1-cycle that way. Just spam 12 slashes, and then you've got plenty of magic. You've got 2 blue potions. All right, and takes down Moldorm too without any problems. Emok taking a little bit of a different approach to the Stalfos Room. I think Kiko used the Ether Medallion. And Kiko gonna go for a Cape Dash here. You'll love to see it. Or I love to see it, I guess, given that the Cape is my favorite item. Cape Dash, an optimal Cape Dash there does actually save time over the standard dashing up strat, because you get to dash through the bumper. And, given that we have Half Magic and 2 blue potions, magic's not really a concern. Alright, so Kiko fighting Agatu gets all 3 hits there, but probably only counted as 2, because if two of the balls hit at the exact same time, or near frames of each other, it only counts as 1 hit, which is a little bit unfortunate, actually. Alright, Emok is entering their fight with Lambo 2. This could be a chance for them to make back some time. Looks like they just missed the perfect one cycle. That was a really close attempt. Gonna switch to the Fire Rod. Yeah, once you miss, your setup for the one cycle for silvers, it can be hard to recover. But they're definitely gonna gain time on that Lambo fight. But Kiko is already dropping down into Ganon at the 1 hour and 39-minute mark. It's really Kiko's game to lose, given the amount of resources that they have. So they're have to imagine, nothing disastrous happens. They're going to be the first one past the finish line. But this is a pretty close race. Unfortunately, Emok missing that one cycle that Kiko did manage to achieve in that Wizropes 2 room. All right, looks like no one cycle for phase 1. But we're on to phase 2 now. As soon as Ganon starts swinging his trident, it's going to be 12 hits for phase 2. Ooh, getting knocked a little bit by those fire pads. Trying to set up for, almost looked like Kiko was trying to set up for some double spin hits against that wall, but didn't quite get it. It's going to take another cycle on phase 2, but has plenty of magic for this cape usage. Okay, dodging the fire bats, and Kiko is into phase 3 here. As Emok makes her way through the last few rooms of the Ganon's Tower climb. Kiko already has their silver arrows out. Looks like they're probably not going to go for the torch glitch, which of course is optional and definitely not required for the silvers fight. There's one silver arrow, just needs 3 more. Looks like they're going to try and set up for a double here. Oh, and even dodges that fire bat, and very nicely done by Kiko, who's going to finish with the final time of, it looks like, 1 hour, 40 minutes, and about 55 seconds, looks like. Or I guess 1 hour and 41 minutes. Yeah, 1 hour and 41 minutes, almost exactly. GG's to Kiko. Let's see how Emok handles. This is a very nice beginning Aga pattern. Probably only counts for 2 hits. Oh, that was unfortunate. But GG's to Kiko. We'll see how Emok handles the Ganon's fight. As I said, both our runners have plenty of resources going in here, so wasn't too worried about either of them. I will say this is also, week 3 of our Swiss rounds here for our mentees. So I imagine, maybe this is just me projecting, but I think personally, when I was a mentee, 3 years ago, I felt a lot of nerves, going into like week 1 when I was racing. But as I settled into later weeks in the tournament, that became a little bit less of an issue until I got to brackets, and then the nerves kicked in again. So, but I have to imagine, on week 3, you've got the cape, half magic. You're not feeling too bad about this in terms of feeling the pressure. But it is true, whenever you're in a race with an opponent, you have no idea when they might finish, especially if you're not checking race time. Can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Okay, it looks like Emok also getting a 2 cycle on phase 1. Looks like they're gonna get their cape out. And we'll see if they get a 1 cycle here, given that they had a little bit less trouble than Kiko. If they just... I wasn't counting this number of slashes, but if they got 12 slashes, they'll be on to phase 3. Looks like they are, so they were able to save some time there. Alright, gonna get their silvers out. We're gonna have a little bit of a different pattern here because they did their 1 teleport ahead of where Kiko was, so they're gonna have a little bit of a different fight on phase 4. Yeah, so Ganon's gonna stay on the top here instead. Okay, get the fire rod out. Okay, unfortunately no chance for a double here. Gonna have to stick with the single. And Ganon, unfortunately, yeah, not giving Emok as favorable warp positions. Even though technically, Emok did save a cycle on phase 2, just didn't end up working out. And that's just how RNG works sometimes, but Emok is going to take down the Ganon fight with no problems. and is going to finish just about 2.5 minutes, or 2 minutes and 45 seconds behind Kiko. So very close race here. So final time 1 hour 43 minutes and 43 seconds for Emok. So GG's to Emok. And yeah, honestly, story of the seed was unfortunately Emok's zip into Emok's full clear of Pendant Eastern didn't pay off, and you could see that reflected in the timing difference. I said Eastern Palace does take around 4 or so minutes to clear, and we did see that we did see that difference kind of exactly as we were going through and clearing, comparing the times on beating Vitreous and beating Trinex. These runners were about 4 minutes between each other, and I actually think that if you took Emok's clear of Eastern Palace away, Emok would have actually won this, because they did gain some time back in Gannett Tower basement because they went left and found the big key earlier. So yeah, sometimes that's just how these seeds work out, but definitely GG's to both these runners. And if you enjoyed this race, I highly encourage you to give both of these runners a follow on Twitch. I will have the links to both of their Twitch channels in the description. And if you enjoyed watching this VOD, again, my name is DDR Kirby ISQ. I will be hoping to do a few more of these commentaries as we go through the rest of the tournament, especially as we get into the bracket rounds. For people who either, can't catch some of the restreams that are happening on the Gobo Podcast Twitch channel, or for matches for matches like this one that were not given an official restream, I do enjoy watching them back and giving them some commentary as I watch these races and see how these mentees are doing this year as they are going into weeks 3 and 4, the open randomized swords, and continuing to learn more from their mentors in their journey through the mentor tournament to 2025. Again, big shout out to Emok81's mentor Scatsman and Kiko89's mentor Thelaine, and big shout out to the entire admin staff and all of the mentors and mentees that are participating in this year's mentor tournament. It's been a blast to see all of the races so far, and to see all the mentees really excited. We've got mentees that are making race lobbies and practicing, and it's really good to see a lot of people, a lot of new blood injected into the community, and just a lot of people excited in improving their game and playing more Link to the Past Randomizer. That is going to do it for this commentary. Again, my name is DDR Kirby, and hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I did, and I'll see you next time.